Like I said before, I consider this more like DM notes, just elaborate Dungeon Master notes of the area. So, you have your modules, and it has only so much information on those modules. They're not the best laid out, they're not the best formatted, they're hard to find any information in those, including the lore book. Hi, welcome back to the Three Arcs channel. I am David, and today we're going to go ahead and do another update number 5 for the Verbobonc Campaign 576 Common Year. I've been trying to get these updates out every couple of weeks. Every day I'm working hours on creating these articles and the artwork to go with them for the city of Verbobonc to get that behind me so I can continue out into the Viscounty and start working on the villages. But I need to get the home base done first. The city of Verbobonc is the pillar of the community of Verbobonc area to launch any kind of campaign in the area that you want, but I'm using it to run my more of a sandbox version of the Temple of Elemental Evil. I call it my epic version of the Temple of Elemental Evil campaign. So the players will start off in the city and then they'll work their way out from there. And I've said so many times before in all these videos, people in the Viscounty in the year 576 Common Year do not know anything about the Temple of Elemental Evil's activities currently. They all believe that the temple was put down 7 years ago, and it's no longer an issue for the area. The realm is safe, except for some bandit activity. And there has been a rise of bandit activity along the merchant roads down to the village of Hamlet, down to the border of the Fey Kingdom of Selene, which is the township of Ostverk. Sheer Knob the gnome community has been reporting some troubles. But more so is the Greenway Valley. The Free Assembly of Gnomes has been a staunch supporter of the Viscounty of Verbonc and Viscount Wulfric and the Council of Lords over the decades, the centuries. They always bring their caravans of trade of gems and rare metals to the market at the city of Verbonc and for trade. And they also have a seat on the Council of Lords because of their assistance with the Battle of Emerald Meadows. But currently, with the political atmosphere the way it is now, they believe they're pointing fingers at that certain nobles from the Council of Lords of Verbobonc is trying to steal their silver mines and gem mines off from the Cron Hills. The Viscount has pulled back the mounted borderers patrols along the Cron Hills and the borders of the Greenway Valley, where all the gnome clans live. Tolver is the capital of the Greenway Valley, and there's many clans there that have their own mines, and they always have been sending their caravans to Verbobonc for trade. But now the gnomes are threatening to take the trade elsewhere because the folk of Verbobonc are swindling them. They're liars. They're not wanted there anymore. They're being threatened to be thrown out of the city. And so they're threatening to take their trade elsewhere to like Divers or Ulick. Also, there's a gnome community within Verbobonc that trade there as well. It's a community called Gnomesburg. There's two communities, actually. There's one to the southeast, near the Foreign Quarter, and then there's another one near Rhinemund, which is north of the Velverdiver River in the Rhinemund district. But today, I just want to do an update on the progress of the Verbobonc city map, because I really need to get that done with all the NPCs and all the artwork and all the organizations and buildings and shops and things like that. So let's go ahead and show you what I've done so far. And I'll also show you how the actual website works a little bit better so that way you can navigate it and make greater use of the map. When you first get to this, the website's free. It's public facing and it follows the fan content policy of Wizards of the Coast. You can use this website for your own campaigns. And also you're welcome to use the artwork as well. So the front page gives you a little blurb of what the whole campaign's about that I'm running. It doesn't mean that you have to run your campaign the way I'm running it, like in the year 576 Common Year, which is the default timeline for the Temple of Elemental Evil. You can run any other campaign in the area that you want at different timelines. I'm sure I went over this before, in the previous update video, but as you can see, the scale is so great, and the weird shape of the Viscounty, it's not square. It's kind of oblong and like a backwards L, like a boot. And so it's hard to get it all on one map at the same time. That red line that you see going around the border is the border of the Viscounty. North of the line is Ferrandi, and to the west is Villuna. And what I was just talking about earlier was the Greenway Valley. And that's down there. And then the border down here at Ostverk, the Selene border, that's the village right there. that you can't see my pointer on the screen, but if you can zoom in pretty close here. And I haven't keyed these areas yet. They're keyed on my private website, but I have to rewrite them and actually add new custom unique artwork for each location, which is quite a bit. It's like hundreds of pieces of art. So right now, what I need to finish here, looking at this map, is the city of Verbobonc. So let's go ahead and take a look at the Verbobonc. Now let's go ahead and take a look at that, and I'll show you my update progress so far. Returning back to the main page, because at the main page, if you scroll down on the left is the table of contents, which is called the World Codex. And on the right are the timelines and maps of some of the villages and the cities and other areas of the Viscounty. I have some of these maps up here ready to look at, but they're not keyed yet. When I say keyed, I'll show you what that means, because there are labels on the map that you can click on. So the first thing we're going to do is look for the map. That's on the right hand side. You have to scroll to the bottom here, and you click on the Viscounty. You click on the Verbonc City icon there, and it pulls up the map. So let's go ahead and zoom out. We zoom out, and what we see here is the entire city as a whole. As you can see, if you put your mouse over one of the labels, it pops up a little tooltip. It's a description, a brief description of that location, without having to open up the entire article. And what we could do is click on it. You can pop up the article, a shorter version of the article on the left-hand side, and you can scroll down and find the information that you're looking for. And then if you really need to read the whole entire full article, at the very bottom of this, you can click on Read Full Article. But we're not going to do that right now, because I just want to show you the map. So we're going to go ahead and close that little pop-up. And right now, I'm going to scroll in a little bit more. As you see that I've got all these labels here. Now I'll show you how far I can zoom in. And zooming in, you can see a lot of detail of the streets. I got traffic going on and the different buildings here and shops. And the labels are simplified as just C8, C2, just letters of the buildings themselves, of the location. If you put your cursor over one of these labels, it'll give you a little brief pop-up of what that place is kind of about, like a sentence or two. And then, of course, if you click on it, it'll pull up the whole article, so you can actually get into that location and role play with it, or research, or whatever you need to do with it. So we're going to zoom out again, and to be able to control what you're looking at here, this is icon in the top right-hand corner. And as you can see, it's got check marks. The check marks are map layers. So we can go ahead and turn off A. You see the icons start disappearing. Let me zoom out so you can see the results of what I'm doing here. Oops. And zoom out a little bit more so you can see what's happening. Because when I'm done with this city, there's going to be way too many icons, too many labels on this map, and it'll get a little bit unwieldy. So you can start like turning these off and look at them disappear like that. Say you're only interested in the Elven Dawn. You can't see it. Excuse me, I gotta kind of lean in. At my monitor is making this little window I have open a little bit small, so I have to lean in to look a little bit closer here. And there we go. So I clicked on the map layer, and now only those icons are showing for that quarter, that zone, that district of the city. I can go ahead and just click on the business quarter, and only those locations will show up on the map. So this will be a lot easier to find something that you're looking for. You're looking for if you're looking for only locations in the business quarter, this is a good way to do it. What I also added, though, is zones. So if I click on the business quarter zone, like that, you see what happened is I put a line around that district. So now you know exactly where the business quarter is, what the boundaries are. The name of that street is the Bridgewalk Boulevard, and I noticed I put the border right along down the middle of that street. And in reality, the business quarter is basically both sides of that street. So that is something that I got a little bit wrong there. But as you can see, this makes it a lot easier to navigate to find something in the city. Now, not only can you just show the map layers of the building objects in that quarter that you're looking for, but you can also add a border around it too to help you navigate and see what you're looking for. It makes it a lot easier. That's the new church of St. Cuthbert that's being built right there in the market square. Now there's more. I added something extra. So what I did was I added street names. So I click on street names, the map layer, and now all these areas, these different kind of labels pop up. They're words, they're letters. They're not just a icon with a letter in it. So the Traders Market Square shows you that that whole center area that's labeled is part of B2. If you click on it, you'll see that it actually opens up the B2 Traders Market, because that does include that in the description of that location. So that makes sense. So if you want to briefly see where everything is without having to click on all these icons and putting your cursor over everything and reading it, this helps a little bit more. I also named the Civic Center Plaza and the Cathedral Square, and I scroll down and we're going to see that there's the Elven Quarter, and then to the west is the Gnome Quarter, and then across the river to the north is Raimund. And that's all the labels I have so far. Now the roads, which I haven't named all the roads yet, I'm still working on it. I'm still kind of playing with it. The guys in Discord, the subscribers that help me support me on my Patreon, they put in their their advice. And I always ask them these questions. What does this look good? What do you guys think of this? What would work better for you? And I was playing around with street names, and I don't like these letters here, like Traders Market Square. I think it takes too much room. You notice it's larger than the icons, and you can't really have a lot of that all over the map. It'll look too messy. So what I did was I played around with the street names. So we have Bridgewalk Road here, which I used a label for, and it uses less room, and it's easy to see. And then we have Waterfront Road, which I named, and then we have Grey Fist Road. Those are the only roads I've named so far, I think. Oh, we have another one. We have Temple Street. So those are names that came up so far. If any of you guys have names for these streets or ideas that you could suggest names, I'll go ahead and put them all together on my Discord. I'd love to see that, and I could start naming these streets a little bit more. Because when you're role-playing in the city, that's going to happen often. The players are going to ask an NPC, like a merchant or a guard or anybody, where that is or where something is. Or they'll give them advice or directions. They usually use the name of a street to find something. Yeah, over on Temple Street, at the end of the road, you're going to find, let's see what this says here, the Church of Pelor. The Church of Pelor, you can't miss it. The top of the steeple glows like the sun. That's how they talk. That's how they describe locations. They usually use a street name and also a district name, like the Civic Center Plaza. They use words like that to help you navigate in the world. And as a DM, when you're describing a lot of these things, it's good to use those words too, because it keeps it more immersive, like you're really there. It brings the city to life. That's what I believe. And that's how I like to role play it. So quickly, I created quite a few of these. So I'm going to turn some of these on, these zones. I'm going to turn on all the zones, actually. So bam, 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 Nolensburg, High Quarter, Raimund, and Waterfront. And I'm going to turn off all the icons. There. So here's the zones. They're all, so I made the business quarter red. The Waterfront is blue. The Grey Fist area. The High Quarter is yellow. Also, if you put your cursor over the border, a tool pop-up appears describing that district to remind you what it is. It tells you that's the High Quarter right there. And if I scroll down to the red area down here, I put the cursor over that. That's the Foreign Quarter. It gives you a little blurb about what that quarter is all about. And then we go down to the Elven Quarter, and that one's kind of blue-green, a little bit hard to see. The Elven Quarter is on both sides of Nib's Run. And then of course to the west is the Gnome Quarter, and I put that in blue, Gnomesburg. Now there's something odd I noticed about this city when I was kind of going through it and trying to figure things out, placing things. You see this label here for the Gnome Quarter? Well, this definitely is the Gnome Quarter of Verbobonc. It's obvious, it's quite clear. But what's really different though is they also have a nickname for it called Verbonc Town. So that makes sense. Yeah, that's Verbonc Town. Okay, I get that. But Gnomesburg actually comes up a few times in different parts of the articles. I think Gnomesburg is supposed to be, if you look at the old maps, other people's maps, I think they placed it up here in Raimund Quarter. I think. If you guys want to correct me or let me know, that'd be great, because I placed all those names in this quarter. And I was thinking about that, because why they got so many names for one quarter? And then I saw this older map, a keyed map from the module, I think the Fate of Istis. I think they put Gnomesburg up there by Raimund, or maybe it was from the Living Greyhawk campaign book. So if somebody wants to comment to that too, that'd be of great help. And if you guys join the Discord channel, you can help me with stuff like this. It helps me get it done faster too and accurately. I can edit this stuff at any time. So just go ahead and let me know. The outside zones are done. So I'll turn on that map layer, and you see they're all labeled. So up here is the Shrine of Brewery, and then we have the Elemental School of Magic, and all these articles are written with NPCs. I went over that for the last 4 updates, and I don't believe I want to spend time on this video going over more of these, but a lot of them are really good. I highly suggest you go to the website and just start poking around. You're going to find some really good artwork and articles that, actually I should talk about that. There are some locations that have very, very little information about, and I've expanded it 100-fold with NPCs. And some of them are quite interesting, like the barracks. That's a good example right there. So let's look at the barracks real quick. Let's see. The Elven Dawn Barracks. To do that, I'm just going to go back to the table of contents here on the main webpage and go to the Atlas and click on the city of Verbobonc. And another thing I changed is I collapsed all these. Before, all these locations of each quarter was all listed. So I made a really long list. I went ahead and I collapsed them. So I'm going to click on Elven Dawn Quarter. And all these locations are listed on this main page here on the right hand side, and a little blurb, an article describing the actual quarter itself with artwork. The location I'm looking for is D6, the Elven Enclave Barracks. That's not even the original name either. It was originally just called Barracks. Very boring. Okay, I zoomed the page in so you can get a little bit of a better view here. You can see this better. I renamed it Elven Enclave Barracks, and I gave it a much more richer description of the location, and a map and a graphic image to go with it. And I keyed it to the Elven Enclave and some NPCs. So the original article, I'll pop it up here on the screen for you, was only that. And so I trimmed that, and I just wrote so much more to go with it. And I was thinking about it as I was writing. It has a lot to do with the Enclave, the Elven Enclave, and the NPCs that rule the Elven Council there. So I went ahead and incorporated all that. And I saw that in the description there's a barracks, a main hall, living quarters, armory, and archive. That all makes sense for this location. There should be a training grounds, a sparring area, an arcane field, obstacle course. You got to remember in the description that most of the Elven military here are all fighter magic users, or a lot of them are. The council chamber. The Elven Quarter doesn't have a capital. It doesn't have a town hall. So I just placed it here. I placed it at this location, the council chamber. This is where the Elven Conclave, meets and discuss political matters. I also I added a little description of a strategic map room. It's the map of the entire area. I created a history based on all the other information we have about the campaign world. And then I added a little bit of post-war era to that description, which doesn't have anything to do with my campaign. Anything that happened to Live in Greyhawk is something that's an event that could possibly happen in the future in my campaign. That's what I like about the Live in Greyhawk. I can use it in my campaign when I'm running it. All these options I can use running the campaign. There's a section on relationships, the politics, the Elven Conclave, the city of Verbobonc, the Viscount, the Lords of Verbobonc, all this political information here, the relationships they have with them, with a list of motivations that pertains to this. Then to expand it even more, I created all these notable people, the faces of the enclave. So we have the captain of the guard, the counselor mage, and the master scout, and then we have the council of elders. And now I created 2 NPCs already. They have their own articles. We have the High Counselor himself. I'll try to pop up so you can see it. Oh, it's off screen. Well, I'll show you the full article in a second. So I created that, and then below him is the Counselor of the Arcane Affairs, which is the same NPC that is a professor at the Silver Consortium. His background jived perfectly with this one. So I went ahead and I rewrote his background too, to include his duties here as the Counselor of Arcane Affairs for the Elven Conclave. As you can see, that one little paragraph that was in the original information, I expanded greatly to make it more useful in a campaign. Also, on the right-hand side, there's even more information about relationship between the Elven Enclave and the Knights of Luna, and the political relationships they have with them, what they're up to. So it's very useful to tie all this stuff together, especially if you have an NPC, a player that has that background. Maybe the player is an elf, and he wants to be from the Elven Enclave. He's either a wizard or a half-elf, and he wants some sort of background tied into this. So later on in the campaign, that can come into play. Maybe he's got a relationship with one of these leaders. So when he comes across like a Lunar Knight, or even Melf of the new Lunar Knights, there's a tie in there. So you could tie those backgrounds together to incorporate it into your campaign, and maybe it'll lead you somewhere for that character and make his campaign more interesting. Now I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the NPC that I created for this location. First we'll look at the High Counselor. The High Counselor, he has a full write-up here of description, his politics, his history, his relationships with everybody, all the different factions. I even added a little bit of information about his relationship with Melf Brightflame of the Knights of Luna, and the Viscount, and the Captain of the Guard, and the Council of Elders. I added all that there so we know what kind of connections he has. On the right hand side, I put more information into the details of his character and description. How old he is, and his locations, his species, his class level, his affiliations. All that's all there to be used with some artwork too, what he looks like. So if I'll click on that link here back to the Elven Enclave Barracks, and we'll take us back to the original article, and I'll scroll down to the next Council of Elders. So this one I talked about being part of the Silver Consortium. He's the master of the School of Enchantment. And so this background came with the Silver Consortium. I have each professor of the Silver Consortium outlined, detailed out like this is, fully keyed, with all the information you can need to roleplay with them. Because you're going to have player characters that might be from the Silver Consortium as wizards. Maybe he's an acolyte, or maybe he was an apprentice at the Silver Consortium and just graduated. And now he's off to go adventuring. And this is his background. This is his lore. These are people he knows. These are people that he can go to anytime in the campaign to get help, for whether it's financial assistance, information, clues, getting spells, getting supplies, getting help, whatever it is. The player knows he's got some organization that he's tied to, people that he knows him personally that he can go to and work with, and actually incorporate this stuff into quests, into their missions. So it makes it more fulfilling that he's actually not just out there, being a murder hobo, just slaughtering monsters in a dungeon and looting it. For what purpose? What's the grand purpose of all that? Any campaign gets stale and stagnant and boring after a while of just doing that, like we used to do in the 80s. So this will give more meaning to the campaign, and it gives you a direction to go as you're running the campaign out. That's the update number 5 for the Verbobonc Campaign 576 Common Year. The website I'm working on, that's a public use for anybody that wants to use it in their campaign. Like I said before, I consider this more like DM notes, just elaborate Dungeon Master notes of the area. So, you have your modules, and it has only so much information on those modules. They're not the best laid out. They're not the best formatted. They're hard to find any information in those, including the lore books. I took the idea from Old School Essentials, the way they bullet point everything and keep everything brief, all to one page. So it's very well organized and very accessible to be able to find this information immediately. That's why that's my goal behind this website, to be able to be much more useful running a campaign with. It's also very useful for creating session reports. It's really great to be able to have a link to an NPC or a location or an organization like the Gnarly Rangers in a session report. So the players, when they're reading it, they know what they're reading. They'll remember like certain organizations or an NPC. Who is that again? What organization was he part of? What church was that? And so in the session report, it'll be all right there. That's what I love about it. So it helps keep everything organized. When you're running a in-depth, deep, epic campaign like this, there's so much lore, there's so much information, so much going on that players easily can get lost. They'll forget, especially the ones that don't really take a lot of notes. And so that's why I use the session reports for. I realize all that. And I can't expect them to be perfect. I can't expect them all to be that one kind of player. And so I create these session reports to help them. And then to reward them, what I do in my campaign is I got some players that don't read the session reports. The good ones do. I call them the good ones. But I do reward 100 experience points if they can prove they read the session report. So that encourages them to do it. I used to give away 100 experience points for them writing a session report, but nobody didn't do it after like a couple sessions. So that was a waste of time. So I figured this is a better way. Plus, I had the full access of my pro accounts with all the artwork. So the session reports look really good. And you can see them on my Patreon. Well, thank you for your time, and I hope you like what's happening so far. If you want to participate in the conversation and collaborate with this project, please reach out to me. You can join my Patreon there, and also you can join the Three Orcs Discord channel and join our room where we're talking about this on a daily basis as every article is being created and every piece of artwork is being done. And if you have any of your own maps of villages or local areas or information about different things in the area, we can add that to the campaign website so other people can use it too. So it'll all be in one place rather than scattered throughout the internet.
Did you enjoy video? Consider tossing support on my Patreon. It best way to support orcs. If you would like to see more content, subscribe and post comments below. It better not be bad.
Well, thank you for your time. I hope your players enjoy the campaign as much as mine have, and I'll see you next time.